Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. So today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a different video. I found this book, and it's backwards right now, sorry. It's called The Better Homes and Gardens Good Food on a Budget Cookbook. And I found this at a thrift store for 50 cents. And I asked you guys if you would like me to do a book review on this. And I got some answers back that said, yes, that would be great. And honestly, I'm kind of excited. I'd like to see what this Better Homes and Garden cookbook has for us. When I got it, I did not realize how old this cookbook was. So it's actually from 1971. So it's getting up there. It's got some age to it. Sometimes stuff like this from when it's older is a little bit out of date, meaning that things that were inexpensive in this era may not be inexpensive for us anymore. Beef being one of them. So there are some beef recipes in here that I'm going to avoid because beef at this point is a bit more of a luxury, at least where I am, than it is of a cheaper food. Even the cheap cuts of roast and the cheap, like ground beef, my goodness, it went up in price the other day. It was $40 for 3 pounds. That's like, I don't know, it's like $12 a pound or something from the grocery store. So it's out of the price range. Beef is a luxury at this point. So I'm leaving any beef recipes out from here, but I am really excited to try some of the other recipes. Now I'm going to show you a little bit of this cookbook because it's not just a cookbook. So it does have some other recommendations in it. And I have really, really enjoyed going through this because it's actually very knowledgeable. It's good. It's kind of kept up with the times, even though it's from 1971. So I'm going to show you guys a little bit of what we got going on in here. All right, just so you guys know I'm not fibbing you. 50 cents. There it is. And where'd my date go? There it is, 1971. That's when it was from. So this book has like a whole section on how to cut food costs, budget trimming menus, and then we've got family dinners, company dinners, lunches to eat at home, lunches to carry, breakfast brighteners, and meals on the double. Then we have money-saving main dishes. So there's hearty cost cutters and satisfying budget stretchers. And economical, there we go, side dishes. Low-cost salads, bargain-priced vegetables, penny-wise breads, and thrifty desserts. And then more for your money. So plan before you spend and make the most of meats. So here's the how to cut food costs. Like it's got a whole section here on how you can cut your food costs while shopping, preparing, all of that. And then we get into these menus. So again, we can see like there's pot roasts and they'll tell you to pick the lower cost. I think this is at the back here. See, we've got oh my goodness, economical. I cannot say that word today. Meat cuts. So really anything beef-wise is expensive at this point, but it shows lamb shanks, pork blade, and shank ham half. So these are ham and lamb, right? And then we've got a whole section here, how to make the most of meats. And they even suggest buying like the whole meat and butchering it yourself, like, or not butchering it, but like separating it yourself, which is very, very smart and very much goes with how today is working as well. Like that tip holds true through today. Food storage guide, like how to store your food. Shopper's checklist, plan before you spend, which is just smart all the way around. Again, holds true. And then let's see here. All through this book, I'm going to try and come up. Here we go. They've got these economy tips, and there's all these little tips throughout this book on how to save money, which I really like. I am a page folder, so don't mind me, but I do fold pages when I want to remember something. So then, let's see, compare egg prices. So don't just go with the eggs you see, compare the prices. Yes. Fish for variety. So it's telling you to have fish instead of just, relying on your regular beef and pork and everything. And it also talks about subbing in beans instead of just relying on meat all the time. So here's menus and such. So, and here is one other thing that is not standing the test of time. I'm finding things like this where they're using a lot of hot dogs or chicken nuggets or fish sticks in meals. And honestly, in 1971, these probably weren't so bad. They probably were an okay processed food. Over the years, though, like I remember fish sticks when I was young, they had more fish in it than breading. And now it's more breading than fish. So like the quality of these have just went downhill by a bunch. So maybe in 1971, this would have been okay. It's just a fish stick casserole. I saw chicken nuggets in here, and then they've got like hot dogs and a potato salad. So things like that, I'm like, meh, that's maybe not standing the test of time here. Not something that I would particularly enjoy making. So stuff like that, maybe not. But everything else, I mean, it's not so bad. You do get your Jello salads and stuff like that in here too. So it's been a really fun read, and I'm excited to show you guys some of these recipes. We're gonna pick some out and do some together. Maybe this chili beef potato stew or soup. So come along with me this week, and we're gonna see what we get up to making some of these, and then we can do. I'm gonna let my kids do a little review, and my husband do a little review of each meal. There's those hot dogs. Yeah, so come along with me this week, guys. I'm going to try some of these recipes each day. I'm going to let my kids try it and my husband. My kids are going to be so excited. They love watching people test food on YouTube, and now they're going to get to do it. It's going to be fun. They may not be as honest as they should be because they're just going to enjoy reviewing, but we're going to get them to review it, and then we're going to do an honest kind of review of this cookbook at the end of the week. All right, so today we are going to start off making chili beef and potato soup. So this recipe looks like it could be good, and I think my kids will probably enjoy this one. And I've just got to say, looking through all of these recipes, the recipes are so concise. There's not a lot to them. You can fit 2 on one page, or even more so, like they're just really concise. Which, if you ever go on Pinterest and look at recipes, or even today's recipe books, they're just so long. And it's like all these little informations that for some reason we don't just take for granted or understand, like I don't know. It's just, they're so concise. I really, really like that. It's right down to the point. Okay, so we're going to start off by browning a 1/2 pound of ground beef in our stock pot here. We're going to start off browning it, and then we're going to get in our onions, and it does call for some celery. I am allergic to celery, so I'm leaving that out. But if you want to add celery to this, you can go ahead and do that. All right, my beef has been browning for a couple of minutes now, and at this point I'm going to add in my onions, which is 1 whole onion and a 1/2 cup of celery it calls for. So like I said, I have an allergy to celery, so I'm going to leave that out here. So we're just going to cook these down until the onions are nice and soft and translucent. Okay, at this point it asks for a 16-ounce can of diced tomatoes. I only have a 28-ounce can, so I'm just going to half it. There we go. And now it's asking for 2 cups of bone broth. I don't have any bone broth, and I like to personally make my own, but I do have some bouillon cubes that I'm using up. So I'm adding 2 cups of water with a bouillon cube in here. So that will be my broth. It does ask for 1 soup can full of water, so I'm just going to add a little extra water with that. Okay, so there's my extra water. And now it's asking for 2 cups of diced potatoes. And the recipe also asks for a cup of peas or green beans. And I like how it throws in there that it would like either cooked or leftover green beans or peas. I have lots of green beans right now, so that's what we're doing. Okay, to this, I'm going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of chili powder. I'm also adding in 1/2 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire sauce. Or Chestershire? Worcestershire? There we go. Okay, so this is what it's looking like right now. I'm just going to stir all of this together and then we're going to let it cook. It says to let it cook for about 15 minutes. I'm not sure if that's how long it's going to take for these potatoes to cook. We'll find out. But yeah, we're just going to stir this all together and then let it cook. Okay, so here's the meal and I've just made some biscuits to go with it. It smells really good, looks really good. So the kids are going to give it a taste here.
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10, you like it?
Yeah, I'll have it again.
Awesome.
My lunch tomorrow.
Okay. What? Okay.
Mm. 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10, you like it? Good. Okay, so we've tried the meal and we all thought it was pretty delicious and nice and filling. So budget meal for the win. All right, we are on our second meal and I am going to do this fruited chicken. And I figured this would be good because I am still looking to get rid of some of my pineapple zucchini and this calls for canned pineapple. So I get to use some of this here. So fruited chicken. So I'm going to start off with 3/4 cup of flour and a teaspoon each of salt, garlic. It calls for celery salt. I do not have that. And ground nutmeg. So we're going to start with that, putting it in a bag because then I'm going to shake the chicken in that bag. Okay, so I've got my 3/4 cup of flour in here. Now I'm adding my 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. 1/4 teaspoon of garlic. It calls for garlic salt. I don't have garlic salt, so what I'm going to do is add in an extra 1/4 teaspoon of salt to this. So I just added a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. So I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of salt instead of just a 1/4. There we go. So we're just going to mix that up so it's all nicely combined. And then we're going to get our chicken in here and coat it. So this cookbook also says in order to save money on meat purchases that you should, especially chicken, buy the whole chicken and then cut it yourself, which I think is a beautiful tip because that does save money in the long run. I did find these on sale though when I purchased them, so this is what we're using because it's what I have. So I am going to be using this, but like I said, this book says to buy a whole chicken and cut it into pieces yourself, and that's what they're using here. So I love that tip, great tip, but if you have fine chicken on sale, I think whatever chicken you have works. So we're gonna go ahead and get these into the bag of flour and get them all coated. So once these are coated, it says to get them in a frying pan with some butter and brown the chicken. All right, so it said to use a 1/2 cup of butter. And I shut this off because my test freezer was being delivered. So we're just browning this chicken on both sides and then it's gonna go into the oven with a sauce on it. Okay, so for our sauce, it had me reserve 1 cup of the pineapple juice from my zucchini pineapple there. We are going to take 3 tablespoons of flour and add this in. And then 1/3 cup of soy sauce and 1 tablespoon of sugar. And we're just going to stir this up, and this is going to go over the chicken. Okay, so our browned chicken is going to be placed in a dish here. Okay, it said to arrange the fruit over the chicken, so I'm just going to spoon it on there. This reminds me very much of a Hawaiian chicken sheet pan meal that I made not that long ago, which also involved pretty much the same, but I never browned the chicken or floured the chicken first, so I'm very interested to see what it does there. All right, next I'm just going to pour this over the chicken. Okay, and it also said to put the drippings from the frying pan in here, so I'm going to do that. Okay, so that's all the butter and everything from the pan. Go straight in there. That kind of turned out a little black, so I don't know. We'll see how that turns out. I mean, it's just butter with flour, so I'm sure it's fine. We'll see. All right, now that that is over there, I'm putting this in at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for an hour. Okay, so this is what the chicken looks like coming out of the oven. And we're going to go ahead and give it a taste.
Okay, so I'm going to be trying whatever this is.
Fruity chicken.
Honestly, not bad. It just tastes like butter chicken. I really like thing.
Any fruity taste to it?
A bit of sweet. Yeah. But I think it would be 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10, okay.
Trying this thing. It tastes like normal chicken.
Okay.
6 out of 10.
6 out of 10. Okay. Okay, so trying the fruity chicken here. Okay, I agree with the kids. It just tastes like my regular kind of, not shake and bake, but my floured chicken that I typically do. I don't honestly taste a lot of the pineapple juice in there, but it's really good. I give it a 10 out of 10. I liked it.
I'm going to try Amanda's fruit chicken here. Looks delicious anyways on the appearance. Yeah, it's good. It's very tasty. I would say it's very moist. Fruity, a little bit sweet. Definitely got a smoky flavor to it too, though. I would give it at least an 8, if not a 9.5 out of 10. Yeah.
All right, it is day 3, which means I am working on our 3rd recipe. And I am going to do a ham and mac bake today. So I'm going to start off with a 6-ounce or 1 2/3 cup. It calls for elbow macaroni. I don't have elbow macaroni. I do have these baby shells though. So this is what I'm going to use. And I'm going to go ahead and get this in a pot and get it cooked up. And then we're going to go ahead and work on our sauce that goes with this. Okay, so it's asking me to melt 1/4 cup, and it says margarine or butter. This is a 1970s cookbook, so there's a lot of, I find, margarine and processed things in here. I don't have margarine and I'm not planning on using it, so I'm using butter here. So 1/4 cup of butter. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a quarter, once this is melted, a 1/4 cup of flour, 2 tablespoons of mustard, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Okay, so I am going to add my 1/4 cup of flour now that my butter is all melted, as well as my 2 tablespoons of mustard. Down to the last little nitty-gritty of my mustard here. And a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now I'm just going to stir this all in to combine. It's just going to go ahead and make a roux here. Okay, and now to this, I'm adding 2 cups of milk. Okay, and now it's asking for 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. And then we stir to combine and stir until it is nice and thick and bubbly. Okay, this is getting nice and thick, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat off because I think this is done here. Okay, the recipe calls for 2 cups of diced up ham, so I've got half a small ham here, and I'm just got the bone in, so I want to avoid that. Bone's up there, so we're just going to dice this up so that we can get it in with our mac and ham bake here. I'm just dicing it up into cubes. Oh, I was hoping to do that all in one. There we go. So we're just gonna get it in small cubes like this. And I imagine this will add a decent amount of flavor to this pasta dish. And ham like this is not that expensive, especially when you're not using a lot of it. So I have the ham there, but I think it was $11. And but I'm not cooking all of it, right? So I could use this for one dish and then for another dish, which makes these dishes so much less expensive when you piece the meat out like that. There we go. Okay, I might just freeze this because I've got the bone right here. I'm going to freeze this because I will use this in a dish like split pea soup or ham and beans. So I'm just going to save that right there in a freezer bag, and we're going to use the rest of this with our dish. Okay, so to put this together, I am adding my cooked macaroni. And to this, I'm going to stir in my sauce that I've got going here. That all out of my pot. So we're just going to stir that in. Now to this, I'm going to add my ham. And it also called for 2 apples to be peeled and diced. These are just off my tree. I just did these. You can tell how fresh they are by how quickly they oxidized and got brown. Anyways, this is very interesting. I'm not sure my husband's going to like this. He does not like fruit added to a dinner, savory dinner. He absolutely abhors that idea. So we're going to find out. Maybe I won't tell him and we'll see what he thinks. We're just going to put that in there. And we're supposed to be adding breadcrumbs to this. I actually don't have breadcrumbs, so what I'm going to do is just crunch up some crackers and put over top of this. And then I'm going to get it into an oven at 350 degrees for 30 to 35 minutes. Okay, so the recipe called for 2 tablespoons of melted butter. And then 1 cup of breadcrumbs. So this is what we're using here. So I've got 1 cup of just mashed up crackers because I don't have breadcrumbs. I also don't have any bread in my freezer that I could use to make breadcrumbs. So this is what we're working with. And we're just going to mix it all together. And then we're going to top this with this. Okay, this actually smells really good. think a lot of older casserole recipes are very similar. I have a lot of breadcrumb toppings. When I first read this, I thought it was going to have cheese on it. So we'll see. It looks really good. Not a vegetable in sight, but we could always add like a salad on the side or something. So I'm going to go ahead and get this in the oven, 350 degrees for half an hour. Everybody enjoyed this recipe decently, but it's probably not one that we'll do again. All right, I am doing the last recipe for today, for this week, out of this cookbook here. And we are going to be doing some Boston baked beans. Now, I am going to change this recipe just a little bit because it does call for me to use dry beans and then cook them. And then I'm baking it for like 5 to 7 hours. And that's just not in the cards for me today. So I am going to be using some canned beans because I actually need to use these canned beans up. I've had them for a while. And I'm going to be putting it in the slow cooker. So I'm still going to cook it for the 5 to 7 hours, just not in my oven. I'll be doing it in the slow cooker. I know it would be more budget friendly to use the dry beans, and that's why this is in here. Definitely far more budget friendly. But for me, for today, I am going to use the canned beans. Now, the other change that I'm going to make is I do not have molasses, so I'm going to be using maple syrup instead. My molasses is probably cheaper, but I have the maple syrup. I don't have the molasses, so I'm going to use the maple syrup. And that is really the only change that I'm going to be doing here. Now, I was planning on doing 5 of these meals, but they've made a lot of meal. Like they've made a decent portion for these meals, and we have a lot of leftovers. So I kind of want to use the leftovers for the last night. I don't want to make another meal because I want to eat those leftovers up. I don't want them going bad on us. So I am just going to stick to 4 of these recipes. Okay, so the original recipe called for 2 cups of dried navy beans to be cooked for an hour, actually to be boiled for 10 minutes, and then you let it sit for an hour, which is why I think that the cooking time was so long. However, I'm going to use 4 cans. I've got Romano beans and some white kidney beans that I'm going to use because I don't have navy beans. When dry beans are cooked, they expand quite a bit, so that's why I'm using 4 cans here, because I believe those 2 cups would turn into 4 cups of beans, or possibly even more. And then it also calls for you to save 2 cups of the liquid. So I'm not going to drain these. I'm just going to put them in there with the liquid. Actually, I think I might add a little liquid as well. Okay, so I'm supposed to be adding 2 teaspoons of dry mustard. I thought I had dry mustard, but I do not. So I'm just going to go ahead and add regular mustard in here, 2 teaspoons. To this, I'm also adding a 1/2 cup of maple syrup. That was supposed to be molasses. I do not have molasses, so it's maple syrup. And 1/3 cup of brown sugar. Okay, to this, I am adding 1 medium diced onion. Oh, my eyes are watering. This one was nice and fresh. Anyways, 1 medium onion diced in there. Okay, and lastly, it does call for 1/4 pound of salt pork to be diced and put in here. I'm not entirely sure what salt pork is, so this is just a ham that I had bought that I had for the other recipe that I was using. So I had used 1/2 of the pork at that point, so I'm going to use 1/2 of the pork at this point as well. It's also salted, it's cured, so I imagine that's what it means. It's a bit more than 1/4 pound, but I don't want to have any more of it in my fridge, so we're just going to use the rest of it up here. So I'm going to toss this in here. We're going to give it a quick stir, and then I'm going to let this sit on low for 5 to 7 hours.
Shut up.
All right, so we're just going to stir it to combine everything here, and then we'll get the lid on. But that's looking pretty good.
No, you didn't. Okay, so I'm trying this.
Boston baked beans.
Mmm. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, like it?
Love it.
Awesome.
So I'm trying this thing.
Open up. Try the beans.
8 out of 10.
Are the beans good?
7 out of 10.
All right, so that last meal was baked beans. My kids enjoyed it. My husband and I enjoyed it. I'm not sure I would do that again, or maybe not in the exact same way. It was a bit too sweet for my tastes. I did enjoy the ham in there though. It definitely added a lot more flavor to those beans. So I think I would definitely do a variation of that again, just maybe with a little less sugar on my part. So but the baked beans were good. Honestly, every recipe this week was pretty good. The macaroni one, I don't think I would do again. Like, it was okay. We enjoyed it enough, but it's not something I would repeat. So just that one, the apple thing kind of threw everybody off. They weren't like really tastefully apples in there. And I understand that apples go with ham, but it just not our thing with the apples and the pasta. So if I was to do that again, I would not add that. But it was okay. Definitely, we love the chili beef stew. That chili beef and potatoes soup, sorry. That one was really good. I will be adding that one to our list again. I enjoyed that. The chicken, it's okay. I liked that they did the breading and then the browning. I would do that part again, but I'm not huge on the pineapple with it. So that's just my preference, but it would taste pretty good. We did enjoy, for the most part, that cookbook. I really enjoyed the cookbook, besides the fact that it definitely had some processed stuff, margarine, there was a cheese spread in there, hot dogs, and that sort of thing, which I think back in the 70s was a lot more common and probably a lot better for you than what the processed stuff is today. So I would leave that stuff out, but overall, this cookbook was really good. I really enjoyed it, and I'm actually probably going to do more recipes from it in the future. It had a lot of great recipes, not to mention kind of inspiration, so I can just take inspiration from these recipes and move forward with it. And it had a lot of helpful information. So overall, I think that budget cookbook was a win. So definitely looking for more thrift store cookbooks in the future, and I will let you guys know when I find them. Anyways, thank you guys so much for following me here today. I hope you guys are doing great and saving some money in the grocery store, and I will see you guys next time.